Letter from the Gantry.
Thanks, Neil. Have I told you about the one time in 51 years of commentating when I turned up at the ground and discovered that I had left my notes at home? I thought not. It's not something to boast about. It is something, however, that you only do once. I will never forget that feeling of panic as I tipped out my bag and scrabbled around in my car in vain. It was February the 22nd, 2004, and the stadium was White Hart Lane, the old home of Tottenham Hotspur. We were in the mobile phone era then, so I called home, and yes, there were my notes on my desk in my study. Happily, we were also in the era of the fax machine. I had one such instrument at home and obtained an equivalent number for a Spurs office, so I eventually got my figures and facts sent through by fax. It was a great relief, but hardly ideal. You might remember fax paper back then. It was smooth, almost slippery to the touch, with a faint waxy feeling. Extremely thin and lightweight, often flimsier than standard copier paper. It bent and curled easily because it had usually been stored in a roll. When I got to the gantry, the pages threatened to blow away at any moment. But after all the angst and the technical help, it actually wouldn't have mattered had I stayed noteless. The game in question finished 4-4. Apart from the scoreline itself, facts and figures didn't matter. It was just a case of keeping up with a breathtaking game. Spurs were 3-1 up at half-time. Their opponents, Leicester City, made it 3-2 through ex-Spurs hero Les Ferdinand, but then had James Scowcroft sent off. Remarkably, the Foxes' 10 men scored twice before a late Jermaine Defoe equaliser spared the Spurs blushes, the 8th goal of a classic contest. I was reminded of all this when a few days ago I bumped into one of the other Leicester scorers on that thrilling afternoon. Like Sir Les, another ex-Tottenham player, Ben Thatcher. It turned out to be Ben's only season in the East Midlands and his only goal for the club, a powerful header from a corner. He then moved on to Manchester City, and in our recent chat we shared one particular memory from some 18 months on from that game at White Hart Lane. We were both in Thailand for the Premier League Asia Trophy 2005. City in the tournament with Bolton Wanderers, Everton and the Thai national team. 2 semi-finals were played back-to-back on the same day in the same stadium. City, with Ben in the lineup, arrived to face Bolton while I was still commentating on the other 2 teams, completing the first semi. Now this was an athletic stadium, and Ben noted a long jump pit with the running lane to approach it. You can guess what happened. Adopting the clapping above his head, well used by field event competitors still today, he caught the attention of the crowd and, much to their delight, set off down the runway. It was a fun moment, appreciated as such. Ben sailed through the air to an ovation, but 20 years on, he confessed that the landing wasn't as smooth as he made it look at the time. The sand wasn't as deep as he thought, and one of the game's hard men hit a hard surface and came away a bit bruised in the nether regions. Not that he let on to the crowd, of course. A couple of days after seeing Ben, I was covering Manchester City and their opening Champions League game at home to Napoli. These commentaries are broadcast worldwide, and it's very important not to over-focus on an English club when they face foreign opposition. Napoli, though, were somewhat Premier League-centric. Scott McTominay signed from Manchester United. Rasmus Højlund on loan from Manchester United. Serbian goalkeeper Vanja Milenkovic-Savic had started his career in United's youth section, but had been unable to obtain a work permit. Then there was Frank Anguissa, who'd had a spell with Fulham. Billy Gilmore, previously of Chelsea, Norwich and Brighton, came on as a substitute. In the dugout was Antonio Conte, with stints in charge of Chelsea and Tottenham on his CV. Plus, of course, the returning Kevin De Bruyne, a return that lasted just over 20 minutes before he was sacrificed when Napoli, on VAR review, but certainly rightly, had their captain Giovanni Di Lorenzo sent off. A lot of notes on King Kev went into the bin at half-time. Ben Thatcher now works as a football agent and was at the National Cup tie between Woking and Southampton under-21s on the same evening in the same competition that Robbie Savage, now the manager of National League promotion seekers Forest Green, was making some headlines by making 4 substitutions in the first minute in his team's tie against the under-21s of Wolverhampton Wanderers. Robbie was circumventing a regulation in the competition. A number of starters from the club's previous National League game must be in the Cup 11, a provision to stop the fielding youth teams and destroying the relevance of the tournament. He may not have been the first to do this, but being Robbie Savage comes with noise, and the story drew great interest. He was quite within his rights, and his revamped team so early in the game actually won the cup tie 3-2. By coincidence, Forest Green's next league game was at Woking. Robbie looked immaculate, and his team was nearly as good. Whimsically, I thought he might have played for Leicester in that 4-4 in 2004. I found out later that evening that he'd left a couple of years earlier, because I still have those once-forgotten old notes at home.
Intriguing. Gee, I didn't know those. I can't remember Les Ferdinand playing for Leicester.
Yeah, the season they played for West Ham as well.
I remember that.
He kept going. He was always in demand, Les. He was always a Premier League centre forward.
I knew him when he was about 19, and he was playing for Queen's Park Rangers. I was doing their club call, and he went on loan to Turkey, I think, for 2 years, not even for 1 year. And he discovered that the kind of I don't want to make a big thing of it, but the racism from the crowds out there had disappeared in that sense in England, and I think he got a bit of a shock as a young man going out there and coming back, and it was hideous.
That period in his career was quite early, wasn't it? And he really kicked on after that. Top player, top guy as well.
Absolutely brilliant player. If it hadn't been for Shearer, he would have got a ton of England caps. So great player. Where do you stand on the Robbie Savage thing in that competition? Because obviously it's a competition that must be close to your heart, because it's
well, in two ways it is, because Woking are in it, but also a lad called Jordan Trickett played the last 20 minutes. He's one of our academy boys, and we've had another one play a bit earlier in the competition as well. So that's really, it offers a pathway into the first team, where the gap between academy football and the National League itself is very different. So it's a big step up, and that not many can do. And the regulation, I think, you can understand why, because a few National League teams dropped out altogether. So if they'd have been able to play their academy, I mean, for our academy boys, but Southampton 21s would be a big gap, but it wouldn't be impossible. But of course, to make the competition work, they need first team involvement, and you know what you're going to get from the Premier League outfit. You're going to get their under 21 players, and they're going to try and win. I think the final last year was Sutton against Leeds. Sutton United have got through, and Leeds under 21s played in the final. So I like the competition. But I see what Robbie was doing, and he, as I say, he wasn't the first to do it, I don't think, but because it was Robbie. But it was great to see him, and Mark Bowen is with him as well. Of course, they played for Wales together, and
Mark Bowen, who's had a long coaching career with Mark Hughes.
Yeah, he's probably 60, Mark. Yeah, he's been out. But I can remember him. I remember him playing for Tottenham when Everton won the league, and they won 2-1 at Spurs. Spurs should have won the league, because they had 5 home games of 8 left. The last 8 games, 5 were at home.
Was that 87?
When Everton, no, that would be 85, 85, I think. And they won 2-1. I think Mark played in the game at Tottenham, but I remember him most, and I reminded him of this when I saw him. Bayern Munich at Norwich City. Norwich City beat Bayern Munich. And he played in that Norwich team. He probably maybe the best part of his playing career was in Norwich. But he still looked the same. He's got one of these boyish faces. I looked him up when I got home to just get the years right, and I can't believe he was 60. But we've had Mark Hughes, Carlisle visiting manager, Robbie Savage and Mark Bowen. It's been a bit of a Welsh invasion, and Woking picked up no points from the Welsh managers.